Hello, you're watching James. My name's James, you're watching me, and I'm talking about watches. Today I'm going to be doing the full in-depth review of my Vostok GMT Batman Amphibia, whatever you like to call it. Model number 170862. Now, this watch costs about 10,400 rubles, which is about 200 Australian dollars. And I think for 200 Australian dollars, you get an absolutely amazing watch. If you've watched my first impressions video of this watch, you'll know that straight out of the packaging, I fell in love with this watch, and I've continued to really enjoy it. Now, at the end of this video, if you watch this and you're going, yes, James loves this watch, I love this watch, I need this watch, well then you're going to have to go out and start looking for it. It is a bit of a hard watch to find. It is available on Meranom and a few other websites, but it is generally out of stock. So it is a current model, it is available, but you're going to have to check those websites regularly to see when they come back in stock. And when they do so, they don't tend to put out large numbers of them, and they do sell out rather quickly, so you're going to have to jump on board and buy it straight away. Now, if you're watching this video and you've subscribed, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for your support. If you haven't subscribed, please just click on that button. It'll make me feel warm and fuzzy on the inside and keep me motivated to continue making these videos. But I want to show you why I love this watch so much. I want to show you all the details about it that really impressed me. And to do so, let's flip the camera and have a look. So the packaging on the Vostok watches are fairly similar. Every one I've had comes in the same plastic container with the Vostok logo on there. But we're actually here to see the watch, aren't we? And straight out of the box, there is one thing that stands out to me, and one of my favourite parts of this watch. It is that blue Sunburst Dial. It's very pretty. It's a really nice colour blue. It's one of my favourite blues that I've seen on any watch. But let's talk about these dimensions first. We have a 44mm case diameter. Now, don't get scared off by that. I know that sounds like a lot, but because it has a very short or very compact lug to lug of only 45mm, it makes this watch very wearable. We have a 15mm case thickness. There is a 22mm lug width, and on this supplied rubber strap, it comes in just under 100 grams, or about 97-98 grams. As I mentioned, it is a large case diameter, but it reminds me a lot of my Seiko Samurai, which is also quite wide, but it has a nice compact lug to lug, so it fits well on wrist, but it gives you that nice wrist presence. And being a dive watch, it is nice to have a little bit of a chunk on your wrist. So that blue Sunburst Dial is very pretty, and it certainly attracts me to this watch. But there's a lot more going on in this dial than just that colour. We have a second sub-dial on the top left, and as you can see, it's sort of sunken down a little bit, which gives a little bit more character and depth to the watch. Printed on that second sub-dial is the second track. There's some little markers at the hours, and 60, 15, 30, 45. Printed on as well, we have the Scuba Dude, Vostok, 32 joules, and I'm assuming that says made in Russia, but it's in Russian. We've also got a minute track around the outside. We've also got numbers 60, 5, 10, 15, blah, 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 all around the dial. And we have these applied numbers. The 9 is cut away slightly just to make room for that second sub-dial, but they are applied and they are also loom filled, if you can see that at a bit of an angle. Also at the 12, 3, 6 and 9, there's a little tiny loom pip in a little circle, and at the other hours there's a little inverted triangles. Now they are all loom filled, as I mentioned, just like the hands and the 24-hour sub indicator is as well. And let's talk about these hands, because I particularly like them. I think they're just a nice shape. I like the size, I like how they expand as they go out, and they're also loom filled. The 24-hour sub indicator is not a GMT function, so it isn't connected and you can't separately move it. However, it's just pointing out the 24-hour time. As you can see, it's now saying it's just after 10 p.m. Now I'm going to put some loom shots into it now, so you can see that there is some loom on the hands, that little 24-hour hand, and also on those indices. It's not the best loom by any means. It starts off okay, but it does tend to fade fairly quickly. And that dial is covered by the well-known Vostok acrylic domed crystal, giving you some of that nice distortion at the edges as you twist and turn the watch. However, that distortion doesn't affect the legibility of this watch at all. Surrounding that, we have this friction-based bi-directional bezel, as we fairly much expect from Vostok. It actually feels quite good. It's not too stuck, so you can move it with one finger. However, it's perfectly fine. It does the job. I'm okay with it. You'll see it's divided into black on the top half, blue on the bottom half, therefore giving it the Batman nickname. The bezel edges have these scallops along the edges. It's very easy to grab hold of, and because it's not too firm, it's easy to move and easy to manipulate. Now the top of the case has a circular brushing pattern to it, and it's quite good. It's not too fine. It's a little bit rough like what you'd expect from Vostok, but it is very smooth to the touch and feel, which is very nice. I do like the feel of a watch like this, where it is finished to a point where it's soft to touch. On the sides it is also brushed. You'll see the actual case diameter there is actually quite thin, and it curves around a little bit, helping to fit to your wrist a little bit better. Same on the other side, brushed, and we have a unguarded but signed crown from Vostok. And as we come to expect from Vostok, it is a screw down crown. It does have manually wind, no hacking, but it does have that wobbly crown that we all either like, dislike, or just think is a little bit weird. When you pull it out, you can adjust the time. You can see now that 24-hour indicator is moving, but you can also see that there is no separate spot for that to stop. And as usual with Vostok, once you pull the crown out to adjust the time, you can't really get it back to the manual wind section on it. You need to screw the crown back in again, screw the crown back out again, and now you're back to manually winding the watch. It has quite a nice smooth feel to it, but you can hear it winding up. And now that I've moved those hands out of the way, you can see that scuba-doo properly. You can see that second sub dial much better as well. And you can see there's a little bit of a sunburst effect within the second sub dial as well, which is quite pretty. Really gives this watch a little bit of pop to it, doesn't it? Now, if you've seen any of my videos before, you'll know that I have a particular fondness for Vostok casebacks. Not only the way that it's been put on with that two-stage screw down, and having that screw down crown also gives you that 200 meters of water resistance, but the actual look of the caseback itself. And this one comes with a really cool caseback. We have an anchor with like a sun, but it kind of looks like a nautical star, which is on charts, and has this circular pattern here with some text in Russian. And as usual, very soft to the touch. Very nice. It kind of looks like it might be sharp, but it's not. It's very soft, very pleasant. And inside the back of the case, there is some circular brushing as well. Now, we all know that these Vostok movements are made by Vostok. They come with plenty of jewels inside them, but they do tend to run a little bit interestingly, or possibly a little bit fast or a little bit slow. The tolerances are quite large. So let's see how this one is running on my time grapher. So as usual, the Vostok movements run at 19,800 vibrations per hour. That helps with that longer service interval. Because the movement is not moving quite as much, you don't have to service these until it gets to around about the 10-year mark. It has virtually no beat error, nice high healthy amplitude, and running around about 14 or 15 seconds fast. I'm rather impressed by that. Vostok watches do tend to run a little bit strangely sometimes. This one is a good one, and I'm really happy that I got it. And what haven't I spoken about? Well, I haven't spoken about the strap, and that's not for any particular reason. I just don't particularly like it on this rubber strap. The rubber strap itself is very soft. It feels good. It has a really soft texture to it. It's very substantial and thick. The buckle that comes on it is actually really good. It has two keepers. They both move independently. And it's quite good. It's alright, but I don't particularly like wearing the watches on the rubber strap. I do tend to wear them on a bracelet. But let me show you what it looks like on this, and then I'm going to swap it over to what I've been wearing it on. So here we have it on the supplied rubber strap. It is very comfortable, I will give it that. Nothing wrong with it whatsoever, but it is quite thick. It's just the look, I guess, that I go for, that I don't prefer the rubber strap on this one, but it certainly fits my wrist well. It's very comfortable to wear, and it's perfectly okay. And who would have guessed it, it's my favourite AliExpress engineered bracelet, And yes, this is exactly how I've been wearing this watch, and I think it looks fantastic. However, it does lead me into one of the negatives of this watch, and it is only one of the only negatives that I've come across. Have a look at the lug hole position. It's very low on the watch and is very far out on the watch, which means when you are wearing it on something that's not original like this, it does tend to fit a little bit strangely. But what do I like about the watch? Well, I think I've mentioned everything. The blue Sunburst Dial is particularly nice. I really like these hands. I think they're quite fantastic. I like the scuba dude. I like the overall look and fit and feel of the watch, and I love that case back. It is fantastic, and I'm really glad that it is a no date version, this one. It just suits this watch well, and there's enough going on this dial already. So what don't I like? Well, as I mentioned, those lug holes, they're not really positioned very well, to the point where I may even consider having some new lug holes put in so that this bracelet or other bracelets actually make this watch fit and feel a little bit better. It is, I guess, a little bit disappointing that this is not a true GMT, but at this price I certainly wouldn't expect that, and it's just nice having the 24-hour indicator anyway. It gives it a little bit more interest on the dial. And I've already mentioned, what would I change? Well, I would change those lug holes. I guess it probably wouldn't hurt for this bezel to be a little bit stiffer, but I've been wearing this a lot and it hasn't moved whilst I've been wearing it. So there is my gushing praise of my new Vostok. I really like it, and I have actually been wearing this watch a lot. It's something that I've been opening my watch box and I've been reaching for it every single time. Not just because I wanted to review it, but because I really like wearing it. I think it fits really nicely on my wrist, and it's just a very fun, interesting watch to wear. But let's flip back to me now, and I'll give you some of my final thoughts. Well, thank you very much for watching that part of the review. Now, if you're at this point and if you're asking yourself, oh, I wonder if James likes that watch, well then perhaps you weren't watching this video quite closely enough, because I love this watch. This is one of my favourite all-time watches, and what is really amazing about that is it only cost 200 Australian dollars. Now yes, it's not the best made watch in my collection, it's certainly not the best technology, it certainly has its flaws I guess, but it's just a fun watch. It looks great. I love the configuration of the dial. I love that beautiful blue Sunburst dial, and I really like how it fits on my wrist. It's a really nice watch to wear. It's something a little bit funky, a little bit different, and it's just fun. It's a great watch with lots of great specs, but it's also really fun on the wrist. Well, I really appreciate you watching this video. I hope that you learned something about it, or at least got to see a different Vostok, and maybe in your head you're thinking, perhaps I need another Vostok, because, well, now that I've got this watch, I may not need another one, but I'm probably still likely to buy another one. So, keep watching my videos, look out for any more Vostoks. Thanks very much for watching.